Hello, algebra students. Mr. Lawrence with your flipped lesson, and this is going to be on solving equations with fractions. Now, I know you guys are fractionally challenged, but we're going to end that. I'm going to show you how simple it is. We're going to be doing equations like this in a very easy way. Now, hold on one second. Before we do this, before I show you what I'm going to do mathematically, I want to ask you. I know you all know that 2/4 is the same as a half. I know you can go 2/4, 1/2. But why? Why? That's the trick. Why? If you don't know why, then you're just mindless doing math. Okay? When you start to be able to, when you can start to be able to answer why, then you start to show you really get what's going on. And you can start to do things in math that you would never thought possible before. Now, I might explain it a couple different ways, but with this particular case, I'm going to say, you know what? I can rewrite 2/4 as 2 times 1 over 2 times 2. And then I notice, oops, wrong button. Oop, get out of there. I think my thing is possessed. Where is my shade? Shade, I can never find you. There you are. And if I look at this here, what is 2 over 2 the same as? Well, it's the same as 1, right? Don't the 2's simplify? Right? So your fraction, which was 2/4, now is 1 times 1, which is 1, and 1 times 2, which is 2. You have the fraction 1/2. You see how it's happening? We're taking common factors and canceling them out. Now, what you may not realize, because you haven't had a lot of experience with fractions, is when you have two fractions multiplied together, you can look to simplify vertically on the left. You can look to simplify vertically on the right. But what you can also do, and this is really cool, is you can look to simplify diagonally in both directions. For example, I know that 10/17 doesn't simplify. I'll bet you know that 7/20 doesn't simplify. But how about 10/20? Yeah, that'll simplify. 10/20 is the same as 1/2. So your problem is, in effect, 1 over 17 times 7 over 2. Now, I've checked three directions, vertically here, diagonally this way. I should check diagonally the other way and see if that can simplify. That fraction of 7/17 won't simplify. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply now in my numerator. Times 7, 17 times 2, and I'm done. That's the product. Now, I know a lot of you would want 10 times 7 is 70, and then 17 times 20 is 340. But then you have to simplify that. Now, this isn't a very difficult one to simplify, but sometimes it does get difficult. So let's do that again. Let's see another example of that. Let me get rid of this shade. And remember, I'm going to look to simplify this four different ways. I'm going to look this way. I'm going to look this way. And I'm going to look diagonally both ways. I don't have to do any one first. I can do the one I see first. For example, I see a fraction of 36/18, and I know that's the same as 2 over 1. So my problem now is 2 over 54 times 81 over 1. Well, that's already a lot simpler, isn't it? I also see that 2 goes into 54. 2/54 is the same as 1/27. So now I have 1 over 27 times 81 firsts, right? Now, canceling the ones, I already did that direction. 81 over 1 will just turn into 81. I'm not worried about that. I'm going to check this direction. And I see that there's a factor of 9 in both those numbers. I'm going to divide 81 by 9, turn into 9. 27 divided by 9 is 3. Oh, look at this. The 3 can divide with the 9. 3 will go into 3 once, go into 9 3 times. Guess that means 27 was a factor of both of them. Now my problem is 1 over 1 times 3 over 1, which is simply 3. Now there's no way you can tell me that it would be easier to multiply 36 times 81 and get 2,916, and then to multiply the denominators of 54 times 18 and get 972, and then to simplify that. There's no way you can tell me that's easier. Okay? Now, my way is going to seem strange to you because you've never tried it before, but I'm going to suggest you try it. Okay, so let's get on with this here. Problem number one, I have 1/3 x minus 4 equals 5. Well, according to Saddam, I'm going to add 4 to both sides, right? And I'm going to get 1/3 x equals 9. And then I'm going to undo this fraction by multiplying by 3/1. But if I multiply the left-hand side by 3/1, I have to multiply the right-hand side. Now, some of you are probably confused. Why didn't I multiply by 3/1? I did. 3 is the same as 3/1. But since 9 wasn't expressed as a fraction, I didn't write 3 as a fraction. Okay, I'll do the hard side first. 9 times 3 is 27. Now, do you see any fractions here that'll cancel? Sure, the 3's will cancel with each other, leaving me 1 times x. And in the denominator, I have 1 times 1. Well, when I'm all said and done, that's just plain old x. And there you go. See how simple that is? It gets even simpler. Look at this problem here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 1 away. I'm going to take the 1 away. It's going to leave me with 2/3 x equal to 1/2 x minus 5. Now, notice how lined up everything is. I've got equal sign under equal sign, x term under x term, x term under x term, constants under constants. Okay? Now, I am going to get rid of my fractions. I'm going to ask myself, what number do I multiply by to get rid of this denominator? Well, I'll need a 3. And what number should I multiply this fraction by to get rid of that? A 2. Problem is, I can't multiply one of the equations by one side of the equation by 3 and the other side by 2. If I do it to one side, I have to do the other. So I'm going to look for the smallest number that will cancel out a 3 and a 2. In other words, the smallest number that both 3 and 2 divide into. Well, that's easy. That's a 6. I'm going to multiply the left-hand side by 6/1. I'm going to multiply the right-hand side by 6/1. And the right-hand side is a distribution problem, right? So my problem now becomes 6/1 times 2/3 x, and that's going to equal 6/1 times 1/2 x minus 5 times 6. Again, I didn't write the 6 as 6/1 because the 5's not expressed as a fraction. Okay, so let's see what happens here. I look here, and I look the 4 directions, 1, 2, 3, 4, looking for something that will cancel. And sure enough, I see 6/3. 6/3 will turn into a 2/1. I multiply this 2 by this 2 by this x, and I get 4x. Over here on the right, looking in my 4 directions, I see I have 6/2. Well, that'll simplify to 3/1. My denominators are all 1. Don't worry about them. 3 times 1 times x is 3x. Negative 5 times 6 is negative 30. Sorry about that. Well, now I don't like having x's on both sides, so I'm going to take one of the x's away. And when I do that, I end up with x equal to negative 30. And there you go. Stuff is cake. Trust me, it's easy. My level 2 kids are eating this stuff up. They're doing problems harder than this. You guys can do it. You're my honors kids. You're very bright. Might have to practice, though. You might have to think about math for the first time in your life. Okay. I think to make it simple, first thing I'm going to do is subtract 7 off both sides. And when I do that, I'm going to end up with 1/5 x equal to 1/3 x minus 15. Now, I'm going to multiply through to get rid of my fractions. I'm going to think, what is the smallest number that both 3 and 5 will go into evenly? Well, 15. So I'm going to multiply by 15 over 1, and I'm going to multiply by 15 over 1. And I'll have 15 over 1 times 1/5 x. I'll distribute on the right-hand side, and I will have 1/3, oh, I'm sorry, 15, let me rewrite that, 15 over 1 times 1/3 x minus 15 times 15. Okay, looking at this fraction here, looks like 15/5 will simplify to 3. 3 times 1 times x is 3x. Now looking at this, I see 15/3 will be 5. I'll turn into a 5, that'll be a 1. 5 times 1 times x is 5x. And I have minus 15 times 15, 225. I don't like having x's on both sides. I'm going to take away this 5x. I'll get negative 2x, which equals negative 225. I'll divide by negative 2. X will equal a positive 225 over 2. Or you could give me 112.5 if you wanted to. Okay? Don't run to a decimal. Think about the numbers. They make sense. Okay, last example. Problem 4. I'm going to multiply both sides. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm probably going to subtract 5 from both sides first. That's a positive 5 there, so I want to subtract it off. And when I do, I'm going to get a negative 2/5 x, which will equal 3/4 x minus 9. All right, now, what number should I multiply through by? Well, I look at the 5, I look at the 4, and I know I got to multiply through by 20. All right, simplifying. I'm not going to show all the work this time. I'm going to see if you guys can follow along. 25ths will simplify to 4. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8 times x, negative 8x. Now I'm going to distribute. And I'm going to do the 9 times 20 first, which is going to be minus 180. And then I'm going to look at 3/4 times 20 over 1. 24th is the same as 5. 5 times 3 times x, 15x. And there, oops, I'm not done, of course. But all my fractions are gone. Now, some of you may want to be adding 8x to each side. And that's fine, you can do that. This will create one extra step. I'll do it to show you how. The left-hand side becomes 0. That 0 is very important. 8 and 15 is 23x minus 180. Then you have to add 180 to both sides. And we will have 180 equals 23x. I'll divide both sides by 23. Now, I'm not thinking that 23 goes into 180 evenly. I don't even believe it's going to simplify. I'll do a quick check on that. 180 divided by 23. Nope, it's not even. So I'm not going to worry about it. I know it's not going to simplify because 23 is prime. It's going to be 180 over 23. If you want to convert it to a mixed number, you can. I'm thinking 8. No, 8 won't work. 7 will work. Yeah, 7. 7 times 23 is 140, 152. So 180 minus 152. Well, if it was 50, it would be 30. Oh, I must have made a mistake here. Hold on a second. 23 times 7. Yeah, there it is. I did 23 times a different number. It's going to be 1 161. Okay, that makes more sense. So it'll be 7 and 19/23. Okay, but either answer is acceptable. Either one, not both. You can give both, but it's not necessary. Okay, that's your lesson. I strongly suggest you've taken notes on it. You've tried to do what I'm doing. Think about what I'm doing. Mr. Lawrence signing off. Good night, everybody.